Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be removing the wood grain, vinyl, and the wood trim on my '89 Grand Wagoneer. So for this first panel, I'm using a blow dryer because that's all I had that day. But for the rest of the car, I used a heat gun and it worked so much better. I would not waste any time using the blow dryer. It doesn't get hot enough, and you can also see how much adhesive is leaving all over where the wood trim was. So I would not. And also with all those sun faded areas, like where all that white is, that's all from the sun fading it, and your blow dryer will not get that off at all unless you spend hours at it, and it's just not worth it. So I definitely would recommend the heat gun because it gets hot enough and it will get all that sun faded stuff off just as well as the stuff that's not as faded. Alright guys, so what I found is if you heat the stuff up, works great coming off. If you use like a little putty knife, while you could just pull this off, you're going to leave some of the adhesive and it's just going to cause you more work later. So if you use the like a heat gun and then pull on this and scrape it, you're going to get a lot of that adhesive off, at least most of it, on your first taking it off. So far I've gotten all this off and then found a little rust spot. It's not good. A little more. Now we got the proper tool for the job, a heat gun. Let's just see how it works better than the blow dryer. Now that we have the heat gun, you can see how much easier this is going, especially on those wide areas where it's the sun faded stuff. I mean, that stuff, you can only, even with a heat gun, you can only get a little chip off at a time. So at least it goes a little quicker than a blow dryer. You can also see all that, how that wood trim just peels off with almost all the adhesive when using the heat gun. You're also going to want some tough fingers when you're working with the sun faded part, because you're constantly putting your thumb or whatever finger right up against the car where you're putting all that heat, versus where everywhere else it doesn't need to be quite as hot. But with the sun faded stuff, you're gonna have to get it significantly warmer. So if you don't have tough fingers, it might be a little challenging. And that might be a good reason to use the rubber adhesive wheel that I'm gonna show in the next video, that I used to get the adhesive off, any remaining adhesive or anything that was left over from the heat gun. I used that wheel on a drill, and that might be a good reason to, if you don't have your tough fingers or whatever, that might be a good reason to use the wheel. It worked pretty well on the adhesive, and I used it on the tailgate where the previous owner had painted over that with paint. So the wheel worked pretty well on that, and I see it working well on the standard vinyl as well. I just prefer the heat gun, but I could definitely see the adhesive wheel being a viable option. I guess the difference would be if you're using the wheel, it's $10. I spent $10. You could buy $20 ones or whatever, but on Amazon I just got a $10 one, and they wear down. So I just removing the remaining adhesive, and on my tailgate I went through an entire wheel. So do keep that in mind. If you're doing the entire car with the adhesive wheel, you would probably go through at least one every 2 to 3 panels. So you might need 3 or 4. Maybe you'd use less, maybe you'd use more, but that's $10 a piece. You might be able to buy packs, I'm not sure, but the difference with the heat gun is if you already have one lying around, it's free. If you don't, I think you can get a cheap heat gun for $20. But that's why I recommend using the heat gun for the majority of the car, and then just getting maybe one adhesive wheel for whatever's left over from using the heat gun. Heat guns also have a lot of other uses that you can be good for the future. Also, a note of what I'm doing right here is I'm just heating up that adhesive a ton with the heat gun, just to where it's almost boiling, not actually boiling, but like it's bubbling a little bit. And then you just get the putty knife and just scrape it off. It just comes off super easy when you do that. I'm sure it's absolutely horrible to breathe in, but it's very quick, so saves a ton of time doing that. Maybe if you care about your health, you should probably get like a breathing thing, or don't. And on top of that, if you're gonna heat that stuff, that adhesive up that much, don't let it fall on your skin, because you'll probably hurt for a little while. That stuff gets real hot, so I just try and avoid its contact with your fingers and legs and wherever else you choose to. now we have finished getting all the vinyl off of the Wagoneer. All that's left is there's some adhesive left, as you can see right there, as well as the tailgate. I'm going to get rid of that in my next video where I use the eraser wheel I was talking about. And that's it for this video. You can see this very poorly made walk around of the car. And thanks for watching.